Say to yourself, I am more than my physical body. Because I am more than physical matter, I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. I deeply desire to expand, to experience, to know, to understand, to control, to use such greater energies and energy systems as may be beneficial and constructive to me and to those who follow me. I deeply desire the help and cooperation, the assistance, the understanding of those individuals whose wisdom, development, and experience are equal to or greater than my own. I ask their guidance and protection from any influence or any source that might provide me with less than my stated desires.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family amongst lords of consciousness. I am the void one.
Let's go.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Oh, broadcasting live from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void live. It's Cosmic Conditions tonight, November the 1st, 2024. It's a special night. If you're watching YouTube, do you see this logo above me, above my head here that says Shift Happens? Because lots of things are going to happen. It's Mary's birthday, Halloween's happening, a shift is happening, and cosmic conditions are happening all in one night, right here on the Fringe FM, right here on Lighting the Void. It's going to be a beautiful night. The Mountain Mama Mary, say that 3 times fast, has been here for years supporting this broadcast and supporting us and helping us move along in our psychic journeys. And tonight, she's here. Everybody, like, if you call in, wish her happy birthday, but make sure you wish her a happy birthday in the chat, wherever you just, I want to see as many happy birthdays as I can possibly see for Mary, because we love you. Gigi, my co-host from Shift Happens, is here with us. We're simulcasting on both podcasts. Gigi's been generous enough to say, sure, you can sit in my time slot because it's all worth it. We all love each other. Mary, big, fat, happy birthday. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you. And love back to you. And thank you for Gigi's generosity. So Gigi must go with generosity. Gigi is generous to share with us on the energetic frequencies of us, hopefully the 3 wise magi wanting to come forth on this All Saints Day, All Hallows Eve, and then Samhain, Halloween. And then we have All Saints Day on the 1st, and then we have All Souls Day on the 3rd. And I think is the Day of the Dead, is that like the 4th? We're close, somewhere around in that. In a lot of indigenous cultures, with the main theme is honoring, remembering, respecting the scorpionic energy that we have this time of year, is respecting our beloveds. The heaven to earth, as above, so below. Anyone, any creature, how our lives have been touched, taught, challenged, the lessons, both the soul lessons, the psychological challenges and tug of wars, those people who have been on our earth walk and then ascended into the spiritual pastures, into the spiritual. I mean, I certainly can think back on many people and animals that have touched my life. Some of those deaths that we've had in our lives have been seemingly untimely, unfair, unexpected, be it person, job, endings of jobs, relationships. We thought that we entered into it thinking, well, it's going to be this kind of way, and it was flowing along, and all of a sudden there's that psychic, psychological, soul deep level of some type of an alchemical meltdown and transformation, and that's Scorpio. This is the only Scorpio lunation new moon in the 365 measured days of 2024. And Scorpio, to give you the easiest lesson, because so much is said about, especially the water signs of Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer, and we have a lot of water going on right now in the planetary dances, is that Scorpio is about soul surgery. Scorpio is about letting go of the pattern of holding on and struggling and realizing that some kind of ending or death, therefore revelation and ascension, has to take place. So Scorpio is about reminding us that before we talk about any of the planets that are unique to this one in 2024, Scorpio's rulers, the older ruler was Mars, the new ruler was Pluto. Each year, even though we have a new moon, in most of the time in all 12 signs in that cycle, each one of them light up. Even though the new moon looks like the moon is just a dark, starry night, the sun and the moon are marrying, or they're joining forces in one particular energetic dance. And so the sun and the moon have joined together in the numerological degree of 9 degrees. So in numerology, 9, the number 9, is the final of the single-digit numbers from 1 to 9. And then we go into 10, 1, 0, and 11, 1, 1. This particular new moon in 2024, happening on November, the 11th month, 1st, 2024, ends up being an 11-11 because we have the 3 ones, November, the 11th month, 1st, the day, and then when you add that, the 111, to the 8 year that 2024 ends up adding to, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4 equals 8, we have an 11-11, which is a portal, which is a vortex, and it has to do with expansiveness. Then you take the zodiac sign, which is Scorpio, psychic or soul surgery, and it's about what needs to be transmuted, what needs to be allowed to take a new type of medicine, a new type of healing path as we go into from the scorpion, from the eagle of Scorpio into the phoenix that rises from those fire flames of transmutation. So right now, at this point in 2024, emotions are intense. We have a trine, which is the nice little dance of the planets. We've got some Scorpio stuff and Cancer stuff and Pisces stuff that's going on, a grand trine. But Saturn is the stabilizer. But for this particular new moon in Scorpio, we also have a tense tug-of-war going on between Mars and Pluto. It's stronger for Scorpio season because it happens to be getting exact over November 3rd, and then at the final degree, Mars at 29 degrees of Cancer, a water sign, Pluto being opposed at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So those two planets are legendary rulers of the 8th zodiac sign of Scorpio. So what's happening right now is there's a whole lot of Scorpio going on. So where the death, where the transition, so not necessarily a physical death, but where there needs to be an awareness of, I keep finding myself afraid to accept the change. I seem to have hesitation, or I seem to be afraid of what will the outcome be. Will it be the death of me? Will this job ending? Will this, where I live, will this person having to go into this surgery? You know, will this person that says they don't love me anymore? Will this car that died, you know, what will happen? How will I be able to encompass these rapid fire lessons? Because when we get into soul surgery and we get into psychic medicine, it's not a punishment. It's just like its time has come. So the Scorpio season right now is saying for the next 2 weeks, and we go into that full moon in Taurus around 24, 25 degrees around November 15th, 16th, the next 2 weeks are an intense, it's like if you take a race car and you go to the raceway. You actually are going to pay the money, and you bought this car, used or new, and you get to take this car on a speedway. And so you don't have to worry about the police, and you don't have to worry about not doing the speed limit. It's like, get it. And so there's all kinds of safety things to look at, the tires, the pit crew, and all of that. But you know that you're about to launch. You know that you're about to be supremely in the driver's seat of an awesome machine that could, you know, take you off the planet or give you one heck of an adrenaline thrill. So Scorpio pushes things to the limit, and I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not going to sugarcoat the intensity of Mars opposing Pluto. That's one of the strongest celestial karmic special delivery. You know, Amazon, FedEx, UPS deliveries of like the planets going, I said no, or I said not again. You escaped it last time and didn't overdose. You escaped it last time and didn't get busted. You escaped it last time and the partner forgave you. So if you look at it, Mars and Pluto, when they oppose, it can be almost like the burgeoning elitist. It's the person that they don't even care if they're rude. They just want their way. And it also can have to do with the whole the vampire type of a dance. There's the attractive male or female vampire in all the vampire movies. They're very attractive. They're very seductive. You're lured in, and they may make love with you really nicely. It might be a really nice seductive ride, but then the tooth goes in the neck. The tooth goes into the vein and the arteries. And in most of the vampire tales of old, you then become chained, immortal. You can't have a physical death, and you have to keep feeding, being a tick or a flea on other life forms, especially human to human, because you're a vampire. Where it's a werewolf, when we're talking about Halloween, where if you're a werewolf, it's the full moon that shape-shifts you into the wild creature, the Sasquatch, the werewolf, the Mothman, all these cryptoids, you know, have their little shape-shifting thing. But the vampire is an invasive, forced shape-shifting. Because I seduced you, because I tempted you, because I lured you, I got into your vital life force, and now you're mine. Now it's kind of like the ultimate pimp, you know, that comes in. Now I bit you, and now you're mine. And so then you come into the silver stake and through the heart and all that kind of stuff. So the silver bullets with the werewolves and all that. So silver comes into the play by the light of the silvery moon, and silver is our energy of intuition. And so we're in a pond right now. We're in the streaming, watery pond of Pisces and Cancer, Mars in its last degrees of Cancer on November 3rd. It's going to pop into the regal royal sign of Leo. And this is the last opposition, those of you that are intermediate or advanced astrology students, this is the last opposition in our lifetime between Mars and Cancer and its opposite sign of Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto going into Capricorn in 2008. We've heard about the United States Pluto return. So what's going to happen is we're going to have continuing oppositions between the military, the regime, the drill sergeant, the rumors of wars and explosive things and fires and bombs and threats and all of the whole military type of complex, industrial complex. But Mars is going to be into Leo, and Pluto is going to be going into Aquarius on November 19th. So we're going to have a change of signs. So this, for all of us, not just people born into the last part of Cancer or the last part of Capricorn, but certainly for the four signs of Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn, the saga, the emotional saga that got amped up, started in 2008 and got amped up in 2012 And then in since July of 2023, when the nodes popped into the signs of Aries, Libra, these cardinal signs are they're kind of like they're shedding the old skin. It's like they're literally looking back to 2008, 2012, 2023, and they're saying, my God, what I've gone through since then. And if you look back, you'll see how much has changed. Some force-fed, and some you simply said to yourself, I don't care what the stakes are that fall, I'm not going through that anymore, and I'm not going to handle it that way anymore. So this is a type of psychic graduation, especially for the 4 cardinal signs, Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn. But what's happening is now the Leo Aquarius energy in all of our charts, come November 3rd, because Mars is going to do its little retrograde dance on into, for a long time, 6-7 weeks going into 2025. So we're going to have Leo and Aquarius being the new psychological soul core level lessons of our chart. So your homework is, in the first part of the show, your homework is find the zone, we call them houses in astrology, find the houses in your birth chart, in your birth chart, your nativity, your natal chart. Find where the houses of Leo and Aquarius are. They're always exactly opposite each other. If someone has Leo rising, then their 7th house is Aquarius. If you have Leo on the 2nd house, then you've got Aquarius on the 8th house. So they're exactly opposite each other. And we're shifting now into the Renaissance male. We're shifting into the higher-minded yang, the masculine expressions of heroes and compassion, and the one that would come and stop the vampire. So we're going to see the woke, the self-entitled, the you owe me, that's why, I don't care if it's yours, I'm going to take it anyway. A lot of that grab and go and a lot of that disrespect is going to be fading out, but there's no doubt about it. The next 2 weeks are especially tempestuous. And in our personal lives, we need to drop the guillotine very quickly. We need to set the boundary immediately when someone comes at us of, oh, just because I know you, you need to do this for me. Or just because I screwed you in the past, or I didn't follow through on what I said, oh, it's been a year, but I'm going to show up again, and I'm going to try to come at you and dilute what you have, or because, I'm in your family, or because, we once made love, or you owe me again. Just because I know you, I need to come take some more of what's yours. Or at the very least, if you say no to me, I want to try to get in there, vampire, and infect all the associates you have, all the friends that you have. I want to come in and I've kind of run out of my resources of using people, so I need to come in and attack some of yours because, see, they know you're a good person. So if I say I know you and I get to meet them through you, then they'll be more inclined to give me my way.
Yeah, we don't need any vampires coming in here and sucking out all our associates,
That's exactly right. But as the leaders of that, Joe, like for you being the leader, of the Light in the Void, or Gigi, or any host or anything, we're very open-minded, we're empathic, we have compassion, but there's those kind of people, energy thieves out there. Mars and Pluto in opposition can have to do with the opportunist that wants to steal. So I'm not saying that to cast any energy into it. I'm saying that it's a light switch that goes on. You don't go out to the store, or, you don't have to be paranoid, but you certainly have to be aware. And when we get into the energy of Scorpio will say, this is an intense time, and I'm going to allow the transformation to come. And I've had 4 people just this week that have been waiting on some kind of health correction for like a nodal cycle the last 18, 19 months. One was a Cancer, one was a Pisces, and they're finally getting surgical procedures done. And what's interesting is they're getting surgical procedures done in that whole stomach type of area. In Reiki we call it the Tara, or the stomach area is the furnace of the body. And Mars has been in Cancer since back in September. So it's been 2 years since Mars transited the sign of Cancer. So how sometimes people will say things, you'll make them an offer, and they'll say things like, well, let me sleep on that, or I can't stomach that, or, well, I don't know. I get a weird feeling in my gut, or I've got butterflies, or my stomach's in knots, type of a thing. So Mars in Cancer has been telling us since September what puts our stomach in knots, what kind of are the foods that get along with us, the feelings that get along with us, and where do we feel like we're getting some kind of constriction or restriction. So I will say in the next week, the signs that are most highlighted, which doesn't normally fit the general flow and procession of the signs, because we're going to have Mars shift. Like right now this weekend, and Saturday's, just an absolutely lovely day in the stars, but then we get that opposition. It's not over with just because it happens on November 3rd on Sunday. When Mars opposes Pluto, it's peaking. It's like taking root, and it's saying it's okay if you choose to push that to the side and you choose to wake up and say, I've gone at that the same way a number of times. I've discovered it's part of my go-to pattern, my subconscious habitual. So it's okay if I kind of shelf that and face my fear and come at it with a different type of dynamic, either to receive or to repulse. So we've got this energy. I can tell you the next 2 weeks are very intense, and even no matter who wins the United States presidential election, I don't think that things are going to be settled at all, no matter who they say wins the election. I'd be surprised if there aren't remember I talked about thievery or explosions, if there isn't some kind of muckety-muck that goes on with this being burned or that disappearing or something, like maybe even on election day, that all of a sudden it's 8 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night and the polling machines don't work, or something goes confunct electorally, computer-wise, techno, bombs, whatever it is. It's crazy out there on that. But I believe by the time we get that next Mars and Pluto opposition around January 3rd, 4th, 5th, that's what to keep an eye on about who's really going to be inaugurated, because it may not be settled in November. It's just everything is just so wild out there. Like they may just declare who won, but there's some interesting things that will come to pass. And even globally, militarily, with this Mars and Pluto in opposition, America's been under the laser beam since this went in there. And we've got our once every 50 years Chiron in Aries. United States chart has Chiron in Aries, and it's coming home at 20 degrees around this weekend, coming into election time, and it's not been there for 50 years. Well, you take that back, and when I researched it, because astrology is about timing, going forward or backwards. In 1973, 1974, that's when we had these, I remember some kind of funky thing they were talking about, that you could only get gas on, certain people could get gas on odd days, and other people could get gas on even days, and it peaked in 1974 was one of the things about, it was kind of like the first time in America, it's like, why can't I go buy gas? There was some kind of shortage and a bunch of stuff that went around that. So, and gas was the main fuel of people to go to work and to come home and take vacations and our liberation. So as Pluto finally leaves Capricorn, like it peaked in 2020, and we had global lockdowns, what's happening is we, the people, which is Aquarius, the humanitarian vision, going forward, the space and satellite phones and aliens and visitations and angel messages and the divine, all this space world and the sky above our heads and comets and things are going to get uber strong as we go into 2025. So we're going to have fantastic visions, and we're going to evolve, period. But intense is the next 2 weeks.
What do you think about that, Gigi? You hadn't said a word the entire broadcast. One word. Where is Gigi?
Yeah, I was in the middle of typing my comeback to Elfman.
Okay.
Chat here. All right.
What do you think, man? Do you think she's right?
I don't honestly, like, I don't know enough. Like, it's funny because I do listen a lot of times when you come on, Mary. I put that on in the background and I try to follow along with what's going on, because a lot of people around me, former co-hosts of the show and everything else, are very into, it's been proven, like, I know for myself that this is all real. I just don't know I don't know the terms and the language of it. Like I have a hard time keeping up. But when I've had, like I was telling Joe earlier, I've had readings from, I've been doing this for almost a decade now, doing shows like these, going to conferences and conventions all over the place. And I've had, psychic readings and a lot of them, astrology based readings. And honestly, like 90% of the time it's not even close. But there's been a couple of times actually where I called in when you were on, Mary, and you just nailed it beyond any shadow of a doubt that you know what you're doing. So,
thank you.
So really, I really like to just listen to what you have to say, and try to patch together how that relates to me. But again, my limited knowledge of, so I know this is real. I'm not one to really sort of, to ask as far as, what I think and how this all adds up. All I do know is that you're definitely onto something. So when you're talking, I'm listening,
Oh, that's
and that's what I'm doing right now.
I love that you expressed that, because my whole bane with, like, I love being the intuitive, the tarot, the Reiki, the mystical, the intuitive, the dream interpret. I love that. That's just, to me, it's such a, and I've always said to my clients, astrology as a tool, star language as a timing tool, is wonderful when you are wanting to explore in your soul map, like the map, the X-ray, the sky clock. What was the sky clock doing when you were born? And when you can look at it from, instead of a point that a lot of us do when we get into beginning astrology, it's like, okay, those are a lot of words. I don't understand the words. Me too. It's like, so, and it's natural for us to say, okay, now what does that mean? And how's that going to affect me? And so I have never liked, when I've gone like you, when I've spent time in the 90s and did all these astrological conferences, and I was just like, oh, these are wonderful people. These are great authors. But I've been already studying this for 20 years, and I'm like, I don't want to hear Saturn trine this and this quincunx. You just talk to me, bring heaven to earth. So when I talk about two planets in opposition, I want to kind of give a little visual in a sense of, like, it can be a tug of war. It can be, somebody trying to push you too far. And I don't think most of society doesn't want to go out there and thieve and bully and take something that's not theirs. But the ones that do, the narcissistic types or the psychotic types, they kind of enjoy the manipulative edge, and they kind of get a little bit of a woody over the fact that they got away with it. So there's different kind of adrenaline rushes. But the bane of astrology to me is when people start getting all nose up in the air because they can talk about these terms and they know what they mean. But to me, it's where you lose the client, which is like, if I could dovetail November, I would say this. Scorpio is about something in your soul, something, the transformation of something that will so free you from any kind of psychological leashes. The part of you that wants to be the best at what you can put forth with passion and desire and commitment. Scorpio is about, I know that I'm gifted at this, and if I do this, if I allow that, and if I stay the course, I'm not only going to be transformed, but this is what I can feel it. This is a piece of why I came here this lifetime. This is what I'm supposed to do, instead of just being frustrated at, if I don't do it the way my mommy and my daddy say, if I don't do the schooling the way society says. And you and I both know, when you've been on the planet 30 years, you find out how styles change and what's cool changes, and the clothes you're wearing, everything about it just changes around you. So whatever they're saying is cool for you to be in business and success one year, it's just all like a big dance. It's like a big dance. Do you want to go to ballroom dancing, or do you want to go do some hot Latin salsa? So for me, astrology is about what in your charts, don't make it so complicated. I can't tell how many people start paying for online courses or they're learning from. And as Joe's heard me say many times, you can't pay me enough to teach it because there's too many moving parts. But what I like about it is when people just focus on what's the different dynamic of the 12 star signs. Like right now we're in Scorpio. So if we just focus instead of trying to take it all over the place, what is the Scorpio part of my chart? That's what this new moon is lighting up. So the Scorpio part of my chart, which is what I'm going to go through the signs with in a moment. But Scorpio it is transcendental. It is mystical. It is how our dreams and Mother Nature and animal totems and people that we meet for the first time going, wow, that person feels like, that energy feels like I've got to get to know them more. I've known them before. You meet these people that change your life forever. All that's Scorpio kind of stuff, which is why I use the terms psychic surgery, soul surgery, because something that has been embedded, something that it's hallowing, something that has haunted us or taunted us or been the villain or the vampire, absolutely can be cut off and, as they call it in my work, cutting cords, smashing it, releasing it, and letting it go finally just saying, I'm fearless. In a sense, I'm not going to be afraid of how that could go anymore. I'm not going to let the fear of the death, the fear of if it's not that way anymore, I'm not going to be afraid if this ended or this died, because I know that death is a process and it opens up new portals and new possibilities and transcendence. And so Scorpio is the sign that says, if you had to cut something out of your life that's a limit, and if you just wanted to cut it away and just go ahead and cut it out and stitch it up on an energetic level and just be done with it forever, and you can still know those people, you can still go forward, but you're not going to let that fish hook stay in you, even though it didn't kill you. You're not going to be hooked on it anymore or hooked to it anymore or tethered or leashed. Scorpio is like, I got to get myself unstuck. So that's why when we have a new moon in Scorpio, it's about what's been lockstepped in some type of an opposition. So we use our emotional water signs. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces are the water signs. So that's where we can emotionally detox with our soul intelligence. And so if Joe inspires somebody, if music inspires you, if you talk to an esoteric or soul-based astrologer, your oracle card really speaks to you, or a raven flies over your head and it just keeps fussing at you from the tree. I say all the time, that's a tarot card. That's an oracle card right there. The raven flew in front of you. People on the street didn't even look up at it, but you looked up and the raven was talking to you. So the raven was like, I am your totem, those that have eyes to see, those that have ears to hear. So I feel Mother Nature and our heavens above us are speaking to us all the time. I can't remember a year where we've had to the Aurora Borealis and Comet Atlas and the headless comet coming at Halloween and this and that, and actually seeing the comet with my naked eyes. This is fantastic. I mean, I've seen comets, but there's just been so much going on in the skies above us. And Elon Musk, that rocket landing that he had, and the two things just reached out and snatched that rocket. I mean, I grew up watching rockets at Cocoa Beach and Cape Canaveral. I watched the power of those launches and watched a lot of them blow up in my own eyes, sitting there watching it at Cape Kennedy. So that was a fantastic thing. Starlink, to all these hurricane areas, the fact that they had Starlink come in for people that have nothing. Those people that got hit by Milton and Helene over in the Appalachians, all the way from Tennessee, all the way to South Carolina, Georgia, and just where I used to live, just an hour north of where I used to live in western North Carolina, friends that I had at Santa Maria Island, Sarasota, Florida, talking to me like they've never seen anything like that before. There's a bunch of theories about why. But just the impact, whether it was some kind of high-tech storm-driven type of thing, direct energy weapons or weather manipulation, or it was just some kind of anomalous shit show type of a thing, those people still lost everything. So if you don't think that's not a major death and a transformation just a month ago for those storms that happened to be going on for these people, September 26th, 27th, 28th, we're just a month out of that. And I've got people still boots on the ground going, no, I've got big bags of donations getting ready to go over there, because when you meet people, we complain and we whine and we get frustrated, and we have a right to do it. But when you meet somebody that has all the money in the world and they got a stage 4 cancer diagnosis and hospice is coming in, when you meet people that are gritty in the South and the mountains, that although they lost everything, they sit down there and they say, I'm going to help my neighbor. It is what it is. That's what God wanted to do. That's what it is, and I'll just start over. I mean, that's grit. That's the phoenix rising up. So sometimes I believe in our life, horrible storms happen, whether it's the snow or the tornadoes or the I mean, literally the mountains. It's the mudslides that happened afterwards that's burying people and animals and things, and then that becomes very bacteria-ridden and toxic. It's not just the storm itself, but how it can be an aftermath. So Scorpio is the aftermath of when something's taken away from us that we just thought for sure was going to be our forever relationship, or we'd have that parent forever, or that child would never turn on us, blah, 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 or they get arrested, or blah, blah, blah. Scorpio is the part of us that says, okay, yep, that's a volcano, that's an earthquake, emotional earthquake, but you know what? I'm going to persevere because this has bigger meaning, and this has more powerful stories that I can rise up with, even though I sustained a death, a loss, a tragedy. It's not going to kill me. It's not going to kill me. Certain things may die in my approaches, my style, my beliefs, but Scorpio is literally resurrection. It's resurrection. So it's not the baptism like we have in the spring every year with Aries when we start the zodiac. We're born anew. But this is going into the autumn. This is the chlorophyll leaving the leaves in my area, and they're beginning to turn red and brown. But that chlorophyll leaving those green leaves of the lush spring and summer is because they're beginning to go into the trunk and the roots of the tree to fortify it for the winter until it comes to life again. So that's a transmutational process that goes on in nature. Same thing, you and I, we're going through the little squirrels running around trying to get the nut mash and get ready for winter. That's what's going on. It's a prepper time. Autumn is a prepper time. But the leaves turn to fire and sunset colors to remind us there's so much more underneath the surface than what we just see with our 3D external eyes. And Scorpio is everything that's taboo, everything that's mystical, everything that is of multidimensional, psychic, and intuitive, and grand healing spiritual miracles that can take place. I mean, the water signs are the impact times in our life every year and in our charts that bring things up that we never potentially even considered before, and yet there we are in the midst of that resurrecting, transformative process, and we say things like, my life will never be the same again, and I'm better for it. I'm better for it. So we're going through maybe not a physical surgery or alignment, but this literally is the death, what has to go, what must leave, and we're starting an entire new dynamic that takes us into Taurus season, which is the last part of April and May of 2025. And so what it's saying to us is, if you declutter your life, maybe be around the water. That's why this birthday, Joe, I went out to the water. I wanted to get to the Tellico River because I've lived around water in the Pisces state in Florida like you have, but I knew I had to get to water this year. So I got out in the trees and I went to the water, and because it's Scorpio, it's a water sign, I'm like, why don't I walked around the dam, and I got out there, and I ate on the boat dock right on the water when I had the lunch part of my birthday. And it's like, I really want to just look at the fire coming into the mountains, and it was balmy and warm, which is very rare for Tennessee this time of year. And I just wanted to let that water speak to me. And then the wind whipped up, and that picture I sent, it's like what happened with the purple cape I was wearing was like the wind was dancing all over the place. And I'm like, okay, now there's the magic. Yeah, there it is. So I actually went into nature and let her dance me. I let her, instead of me breathing the air and just, oh, what a pretty place to have lunch. I know I went to the water and talked to it, and I let it respond to me. So it's right now, the baths that you take, a detox bath is really good. When you're in the shower anyway, go ahead and just let the old year wash off of you. Just let anything that haunts you or tempts you or has taunted you, or especially shame, especially something that you feel ashamed of, or that you felt that you missed an opportunity. Just, half the stuff we think that we are ashamed of or ashamed for, or people try to shame or blame us. Scorpio is a beautiful time to just, be the surgeon yourself and go, yeah, that's out of here. That's out of here. So it's a wonderful time for that whole psyche, soul transformation. It's just like, I have to own my power and take responsibility for it. And then I become not just the magi, not just the magician, not bound by just one of the main four elements, but I am the magic wand. I am the crystal. I am the living word. I am the prayer, and I am the process of becoming in all ways that have to do with the splendor of light. And that's what it is. And
what you just said there is perfect. I am the process of becoming. I mean, like people want, I was telling you, Mary, like how some people say, well, when I get here, I'll be happy. When I have this, I'll be happy. Right. When I have this, I'll be fulfilled. But you're always in the state of becoming, and nothing is permanent. So if you can find bliss in the impermanence and the change and the growth and the deaths that keep happening, right? Instead of saying trapped in cycles because you're trapped by your desires and the devil card kind of thing, you'll probably, through that Scorpio power, find more personal happiness than you can imagine, actually.
Well, and to Gigi's point, just looking at the way the celestial wheels are turning, tomorrow, Saturday, it's got lovely, absolutely lovely celestial energy going on. It's wonderful for just having a good laugh and encouraging others and having a meetup, or it's like having a nice smoke with somebody, having a nice little coffee or tea, or just saying, what a great afternoon this was, but just hanging out with you. And then on Sunday, we get shown in a good way, especially if we set it up in our meditations and our prayers, the magic wand again. If we set our intentions that even though they're out in the collective, the two planets, Mars, the soldier, the general, the battle plan, is at odds with Pluto, which is the controller, the kings, the queens, the government, the presidents, the big pharma, all these people, the insurance companies, everybody that tries to say, I said you have to follow these rules or I'll shut you down. Mars is pushing back on that right now. So maybe on Sunday we can have a little easy meditative perspective on the fact of, where have I been driving myself too hard? Maybe I've been too critical of myself. Maybe I've been saying I'm too skinny, or I'm too fat, or I should go do this, or like you said, Joe, well, I would be happier when I could go shopping. I would be happier when I'll be so happy once. Sometimes we'll just say, I'll be so happy when I'm stop being so tough on myself.
Yeah, just be in the moment.
How about trying that? Yeah. Okay, be here now. There it is. The gift is being in the present. And so many of us become like the little hamster in the wheel. And yes, we have deadlines, and yes, we have bills to pay, but those come up all the time anyway. We don't need to keep saying, oh my God, Christmas is coming, Hanukkah's coming, I got to spend all this money. No, you don't. No, you don't. You can show up and have a moment with somebody. You can encourage somebody, and you can say, I'm not doing a materialistic Christmas this year. And I say to my friends all the time, I don't expect anything from you for Christmas. Don't do that to yourself. Let's have a moment. Let's have a lunch. I'm fine. I don't expect anything financially from you for Christmas. Let me be one of the people in your life that you don't have to step up to the plate and do something financially for. Don't do that. I'd much rather you save that money, go bless the people that you feel need it the most, and get a reading for yourself or somebody if you want to as we come into the end of the year and the new year. But you don't owe me anything. And just to release somebody from that, and I taught that to my stepkids when I was married too. It was like, don't make this materialistically. This Christmas we're going to go out and we're going to make somebody else's. We're going to go play Secret Santas, and we're going to pick up different people's checks in the restaurant, and they're never going to know that we did it. We're just going to go bless somebody and be secretive about that. I got to tell you, I've gotten a lot of great presents in my life, but the warmth that comes from being able to just do something like that person goes, what? Somebody bought my meal? Well, I'd like to thank them. Where are they? No, I'm your server, and I can't. I'm bound by not telling you who did it. They just wanted you to have a great day, and they wanted to remind you that good surprises still come out of the blue. That's what I like about it. Instead of it being, oh no, another bill. Oh no, my insurance went up, my rent went up. In that day, in the present, Joe, somebody that you never needed to even know their identity just picked up your ticket. And it's just like, now you got that much, whatever that was, that $20, that $30, whatever. Now you got that much money because somebody else paid it. They didn't even need you to know that they did it. It's just that's being.
How
in
long
the
has it
present
been since we've done that? We used to. There was a massive. Maybe that'll pick up. We should start it and see if it circles back around.
I want to. They used to call it paying it forward and random acts of kindness. I think it was in the 90s. It was in the 90s that got really popular.
It wasn't too many years ago. I remember it was all over the place. Like we were pulling up in, I don't know, like Starbucks or whatever, and everybody was just buying the person's, like, whoever was behind them. It happened for a few days, I think. It wasn't that long ago.
I never let it go.
Arkansas?
It was everywhere. Yeah, it was Arkansas. It happened a few years ago, actually.
It was in Florida too. Oh no, he's right. It was all over. I think it was before Starbucks. I mean, I think people were doing it at McDonald's and Taco Bell.
Yeah, they were doing it everywhere. Yeah.
Mom and pop
and
grocery
I
stores.
noticed it. Yeah, in Austin too, that was happening. And funny enough, I had to go back to Houston during that time, and it was not happening in Houston, but in Austin, Houston. at all the juice lands. Well, that's where I saw it. It was like almost an unspoken rule that everybody was just doing. We're paying for the person in front of you, and that wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't. It was just a few years ago. Mary, I got a question from the Discord. This is a question that I know that you get a lot, but sometimes it needs to be reiterated from your point of view. He says, hey, Joe, has Mary ever discussed sidereal astrology, which allows for precession, which makes sense to me and might mean your house is actually one house over? That's that classic astrological, why don't you do this one or that one,
Yeah, a lot of people will do sidereal and Vedic, and yes, and it does do a shift in the constellations of that. But I can only answer how that worked for me. I like the Western astrology because I like the seasonal thing of Mother Nature, as above, so below. I studied my chart in the sidereal way, and it did not line up for what had happened in my past and the psychological aspects of me having a whole bunch of planets in Libra instead of a whole bunch of planets in Scorpio. But I studied them both for a whole year. It's like I watched the transits of sidereal and I watched the transits of Western tropical, and the Western tropical worked for me. Now, I've met people that are really good doing Vedic, and Jeff Harmon is one of them. He uses both. He uses many. But I've listened to monthly forecast of sidereal or Vedic, and then I'll listen to tropical Western. And for me, it just works better for me to use Western tropical. But if you get your mojo on and it really works for you, and you see not just your birth chart signs, but you see those transits really fitting you. And right now everybody's got in the United States and in Britain, all the warring going on with the politics. Run the charts of the two candidates, run the charts in sidereal and run them in tropical Western and see what's going on, because it's a whole different kind of a thing. I don't have any opposition to it. It's just not a style that I absolutely dance and flow with the seasonal and the Western. It works for me.
We remember, especially us void walkers, we remember that every system of philosophy, whether it's astrology, hermetics, Kabbalah, whatever, these are all just technologies that go way back for us to understand our soul. And these technologies have evolved. So Western tropical astrology is an evolved version of astrology, right? This actually allows, it's not what you said is that, what Sir Wolf said is that sidereal allows for the precession, but actual tropical makes up for it. I mean, there's a complicated way to explain it, so I pulled it up right here. That's a little bit easier, so I don't ramble. But precession correction is important when using the tropical zodiac, because the tropical zodiac is based on the position of the sun relative to the earth at the equinoxes, rather than the fixed stars or constellations. And then it goes into a different breakdown. So just like when they came out with the Kabbalion, You know, you got the Hermetic Emerald Tablet, and then later in the 1800s, whenever the Kabbalion came out, astrology, even today, is always evolving, right? All these spiritual technologies are evolving, and I feel like Western astrology, just in my opinion, is an evolved form of astrology, and it's still evolving right now, you know.
Now, is this because I was actually going to ask, and I think I might have brought this up to you several years ago, Mary, on one of these shows. I'm going to try to make this very short. When I was in college, my favorite class was astronomy, and he actually went off the curriculum one day for 2 days in a row to explain to us that, you know, when you go to Starbucks and you get the paper and it's got your you know, it's got the astrological sign readings in there. His whole thing was that is based on where the stars were relative to us about 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, and if you actually do the math and adjust for where they actually are now. In my case, my birthday is September 25th. So normally, according to, you know, all the mainstream stuff, I'm a Libra. But if you do that few day adjustment, I would actually be a Virgo. And he took a lot of time to explain that to us. But I have noticed, and I always try to keep that in consideration, but I have noticed for sure that the Libra stuff definitely applies to me like 85% of the time. And then sometimes the Virgo stuff does as well. But what he was explaining did make sense to me. Like, you know, well, why are we basing it off of where the stars were 3,000 years ago? Like, why shouldn't we be basing it? But at the same time, once you make that adjustment, all those Libra readings don't match up with me. So I'm kind of like torn between the two. Do you have any, what do you think about
Mary
that?
got disconnected, but I know she's coming back too. Like, cause like, here's the thing. The tropical zodiac defines the signs based on the position of the sun at the spring equinox around March 21st. Okay. So it's more of a seasonal alignment. And why there's this correction is because over the period of 26,000 years, this wobble has taken us out of kind of like, I guess you could say, precession or alignment with the stars. So it's kind of like a barely shifting thing that's always happened. So what they did was, because the shift is happening all the time slowly over a period of 26,000 years, they aligned it with the seasons and the equinoxes and started at 0 degrees Aries, so it doesn't do that anymore. And that's kind of like your tropical system. I think you should just study both, and then like whichever one rings true. And Western astrology has worked for me for everything, you know, everything
and that's exactly
that I've done.
What I do. I always look at both. Ever since then, you know, that was almost 2 decades ago, probably. Yeah. But yeah, ever since then, I've always looked at both. But I have noticed that the stuff you see on the newspapers and stuff, like the mainstream readings, tend to ring more true, as I would be a Libra in that case. Whereas if I do the correction and read the Virgo side, sometimes it hits, but very most of the time it is Libra. But I just find that interesting, and right along with that is also sort of you know, we have the Tropic of Capricorn and those 3 lines on the Earth, right? And sort of the same question with that, I guess, is why haven't we updated those names? You know, because those names were, you know, the Tropic of Capricorn was there because of where Capricorn was when they made those maps. But if we made those maps today, that wouldn't be it at all. Does that affect at all this work that you do here? Or is that sort of a completely different thing to question?
I think it's a valid question. You know,
well, it's valid, but it doesn't. For me, it doesn't alter my astrological dynamic, astrological energies. If anything, I would say it's funny because those 2 names, Cancer and Capricorn, are all about tradition. And so it's almost like history, Capricorn, and tradition. You know, what is the overarching reliable thing we can say when we're looking at Earth meridians. It's interesting also because psychologically, Cancer is the maternal, is the mother, and Capricorn is the patriarchal or the father. It's interesting when you look at how you start spinning it out in a metaphysical way. It wouldn't, I would just go, oh, cool, it's 2024, and they changed the names of the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. I've not really studied it from that standpoint, but to me, it makes sense, even in a psychic and celestial way, that it would be like the mama and papa lines, and then the moon and
Right.
Saturn. The Cancer is also the moon, and Saturnian is time, Chronos time, and Saturn's like right now, Saturn in Pisces is balancing any tension that would be going on with the Mars-Pluto opposition with this particular specific Scorpio new moon, because Saturn's in Pisces. It's a water new moon, and Saturn's kind of like the anchor. So the ship might not, sometimes when you're on the water, you got to pull the anchor up and go with the flow of the waves. If you're in a sailboat, you sit there without the wind, even though you're on the water. So there's a lot of ways that we have our soul anchor. We have our mental, sometimes we get stuck, we get sandlocked, or we get up on a sandbar or on a rock. If you look at the water symbols of what goes on, it's like, oh my God, now I've got a big delay. Saturn can be delays. Mercury retrogrades can make us look again 2 or 3 times at something that would have been a bigger problem if we didn't have that little delay. Like, I don't look at Mercury retrogrades as a bad thing. I look at Mercury retrogrades as like, okay, what might I have missed that has a little more depth and a lot more opportunity by me just always chasing the clock and being in a hurry all the time. So it's like the Mad Hatter and Alice in Wonderland. When Mercury goes retrograde, the Mad Hatter's running around all the time going, I'm late for a very important date. And the Queen of Hearts is going, off with their head, off with their head.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
The Cheshire Cat
That's
is
a pretty
sitting up
good
in
analogy.
Yeah, but the Cheshire Cat's sitting up in the tree going, it's all good, it's all relative.
Yeah, it is all. That's exactly right. Just like science and religion, just like the 2-in-1 thing that we talk about all the time. And I want to get back to your Scorpio energy and get into the signs too, because I know our time just flies by here. But Jane also mentioned in the chat, and I think Jeff's talked about this. I think you've talked about this, Mary. I know I've talked about it. Is like it. So if you study Western astrology, like look at it as like your personality, the energies, how you're affecting the earth. Look at it like your life and all the stuff that's happening in your life, because it really does. It's pretty accurate if you actually get into the chart. And then if you pull up a sidereal chart and you look at like your deep subconscious soul transitions, you might start seeing a pattern there, because I know I have.
I'm going to go back to Gigi's analysis on this. What I find kind of bridges the gap is go into Jung's archetypes.
Yeah.
Like go into the archetypes that are, you can find it online now. Used to you had to buy it in a book, but you can go online. I don't know if it's Pinterest or just on Brave or DuckDuckGo or Google, but type in the 12 zodiac signs and their archetypes.
Yep.
And so when Gigi looks at Libra, you'll find that, the peacemaker, the poet, the musician, the diplomat, he might start looking at those archetypal preferences versus Virgo being the professor and the hermit and the forever student and the perfectionist and, like the keeper of time type of thing. He may find that Libra, although we can float, let me tell you, there's not a chart out there for the most part. Generally, no matter what your solar sign is, you're going to have signs because of the faster moving planets like Mercury and Venus, sometimes Mars. You're going to have some of that other sign because Mercury always travels closest to the sun. So someone might be born in Libra, but they could have, let's just do Western for to cite an example. Someone could be born in the tropical Western sign of Libra, but their Mercury might be in Virgo, their Mercury might be in Scorpio. It might even be in Sagittarius, depending on if it was moving faster. Venus goes in and out of bounds. It's out of bounds right now. Sometimes Venus is the morning star, and sometimes she's the evening star, and she's got a whole synodic cycle. And I'm telling you, just to Gigi's point, it gets so technical to where you go, okay, time out, I'm out. I got to go outside. That's just too heady for me. So if we can keep it to the elements of the signs, like in metaphysical magic, like do you have more earth in your chart? Do you have more fire? And I found in my 20s something that was really interesting at one of the star conferences I went to out in Berkeley, California, when they had all these big authors out there. And I remember thinking, oh, that's so good. There was one astrologer, I couldn't remember if it was Stephen Aurora or Luce Green, but they said, also, have you ever looked at your chart to see what element is weakest and or missing? And that's the sign that element, like if someone's weak in air, no matter what their planets are, if you have less of the air signs of Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini, ironically, those are the signs that will come in as your running buddies or your sexual attractions or the main boss that you have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating. And I'm like, I've never heard that before. Well, that's a nice little simple give.
Hey, you remember me telling you that, Mary? So when I was doing that fundraiser, I was doing that exact thing, elemental astrological readings and temperaments, right? And I called you that day and I said, Mary, so I've got all this fire and air in here. And then I've noticed as I was reading other people's charts too, that I was looking at mine. And I said, the earth element is where I need most of my work. And then I started, flipping through my relationships, all freaking Taurus energy, like you wouldn't believe. Yeah. Just coming into my life like crazy,
And then you look at the archetypes of that. For example, we're in the Scorpio stuff. We've been talking about that. So when you look at archetypes in astrology, then you also look at what's the opposite or polarity sign to Scorpio. It's Taurus. Mm-hmm. And I found that more people get focused on what's coming in and what's going out with their finances and how much sweet stuff, sexual stuff they've got going on when they're in the sign of Taurus, and they look at the finances more when they're a sign of Scorpio. It's interesting. It's just interesting because even our opposite sign is medicine. It doesn't mean if I'm a Scorpio, I'm going to marry a Taurus or I'm going to be around a lot of Taurus, but I can tell you every Taurus that I'm around has a really interesting way that they do their finances, that they save their receipts, that they check. They've got a really powerful, organized, unique way of doing that to where I go, that's interesting, and I know I can learn from that. So our opposite sign, regardless of what system you use, your opposite sign, you're going to attract. They may do it differently than you, but we can always get some insights from them. We can always get a balance in our life. Where years ago they did the thing of opposites attract, and if you're an Aquarius, you're going to end up with a Leo, and I'm like, oh no, that's not going to be the case, because if you look at it as a character map, like the Silk Road, if you look at it as you've never been to Morocco, you've never been to the Arabian Bazaar, you've never, gone down there and doing barter systems like a lot of the indigenous cultures do. It's not always about coinage or currency. It's about trade. It's like considered a big deal if you go to Mexico or you go to certain countries and you give that family, if you're going to marry somebody, a cow or a pig. I mean, that's a big deal in their culture. So it's the old statement, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So I think when we get rooted in where we live and our indigenous ethnic background, sometimes we get a little too center focused on, okay, well, I arrived this time in the South, and the main thing was being Baptist, and, no, I'm a Scorpio. So, I think in any of it, we can get too put into a box. And then, wait a minute, is that belief system ruling me, or am I just accepting that?
Right.
And I say to people, please don't go around going, well, I'm a Sagittarius with a Leo moon and an Aries rising. That's just archetypes for you. That's not who you are. It's just different pathways of maybe a strategy that you'll use. If you're a fire sign, if you're an Aries, a Leo, or a Sagittarius, you're going to want to get to the bottom of something quicker. If you're Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, it's like, wait a minute, now let me not gloss over those points now. Wait, there's a little more to this, and you don't jump to the decision too quickly. And a Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces is going to say, well, I got to see if I'm in the mood, and if I feel that, wait a minute. But and if you're an air sign, they're going to analyze it and come at it from all kinds of different ways. So if I'm weak in air, it's going to help me to get a Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius' perspective on how they see it. And it's like, oh, snap, that's good. And we can utilize all of this knowledge. I always say, I don't care if they're Vedic. I don't care if they do this. If that works for you, do your part to help yourself be the best version of yourself. You know, whatever tarot deck you buy, mystic that you listen to online, or church that you go to, are you walking the walk, or are you just talking some more bullshit? Because I'm going to look at your actions. I got Mars in Aquarius. I'm going to look at your actions. I'm not going to look at your words. If your words are inspiring, if your words teach me how to improve myself, if your words and your energies sync, and I see that you're not just a person that talks it to make money or to get your ego erect, if you're a person that actually is out there doing it and making a difference on the planet for whatever time you have afforded here, yeah, that's impressive to me. Not your stuff. Not your boat, not your car, not your bank account. I'm going to look at character. I'm going to look at the dynamics of your boots on the ground and what you do, how you treat people, and how you live this life before I'm ever going to decide to be around you.
I feel like I should play that Shania Twain song, That Don't Impress Me Much. You know?
Oh, that's perfect. That's a perfect song for that. Yeah, yeah.
You remember that?
But in
right.
the Scorpio season, it could also be, man, I feel like a woman. Because it's got its sexy, sassy side, too. It's got its, Scorpio is what makes us feel we're desirable. We can't leave that out. So this season, regardless of your sign, the Scorpio new moon for the next 30 days is putting us looking in the mirror at, what do I like about myself? What do I feel is sexy about myself? What do I feel is really mystically appealing? And what Scorpio also can be, what archetypes would I like to incorporate in my psychology, in my path, in my medicine work, in my healing work? What archetype appeals to me now? And that's what we'll do when we get into the readings. We'll see what energy, what archetype is going about. But this, again, one of the archetypes is the magician for Scorpio, because it's bringing all the elements together. And like I said, become the magic wand yourself. You're the crystal at the end of the magic wand. You're it. So what are you casting? Because words cast spells. That's why it's called spelling.
So one last question that I want to ask you about Scorpio, because I brought this up the other night and I wanted to hear your viewpoint on it. So I think one of the most empowering things we can do for like soul growth and just growing as a person is when we feel fears or those deaths like you were talking about earlier, and how important it is to not run from it and feel our way through that death process. Like Scorpios are really good at this, by the way, when they're tapped in, but there's the desire principle for sure, but the ability to feel all of that death when that transition happens in your life, whatever it is, and not run from it, like actually feel it all,
Well, it's like when you look at, because we're at Halloween, so sometimes I'll talk about the wicked witch, but the good witch versus the bad witch. But this year, what seemed to come up for me in archives of notes that I have was when you think about the story of Frankenstein, the Dr. Frankenstein that makes the monster. Well, the writer of that, Mary Shelley, wrote that when she was 18 years old. She started when she was 18 years old and took it into her 19th year. And so part of what one of the quotes from that was, the monster at one point says in the original writing of it, I don't know if it's in every Frankenstein movie they've ever put out there, but it's like when we can't be manipulated is when we have faced our fears of changing, so we're cutting the ties that bind. But one of the things the monster says is, I'm fearless, therefore I'm powerful. So we can interpret that by we're not going to collapse. We'll handle it. Whatever it is, whatever challenge comes up to us, we're going to handle it. It's like an unexpected death. You go to the memorial or the casting of the ashes or the celebration of life, and that's part of the reason why people go to see an open casket or go to the actual funeral, even though they hate going to funerals. They want to pay respect. But when you go there, when you actually go to that funeral, whether it's a baby or you bury your dog or the cat got hit, that's it. That dog you petted yesterday, you'll not ever pet the same way again. You'll remember it. You'll have great memories, but it's gone. And it's not here in the earth plane, in the earth vessel. But I can tell you for countless decades that I've been very blessed to be able to all of a sudden have that dream or have that vision of one of my dearly departed. I'll just be sitting reading a book, and all of a sudden I'll hear or see one of the dogs or one of the cats run by, and I'm like, oh, cool. So it's and if you read Edgar Cayce, The Sleeping Prophet of Pisces, if you read him, he also lets you know about different things of dimensions and how animals can come through, your new animals and all that. So what seems to be, it's hard to understand, why did they have to die? Why did they have to die like that? Why did such a good person have to die so young and get that disease? All they ever did was give to somebody, because the ripple effect of how that, I don't claim to know all the answers at all, but one of the byproducts of that might be because someone like that had such good impact and was such a pure soul, such an easygoing dog, such a wonderful person, and they leave the planet young in an accident or with unseemingly, why did they get that disease? All they ever did was love and give. Is that we're changed because we're changed by their example, and we don't get to take for granted that they're going to be here for the rest of our lives on Earth. So that parent that leaves, that child that, a woman goes through a whole birth and then she loses the child, sudden infant death syndrome. I've had walked people through that before. I've sat with people when they're dying. Scorpio is the sign of death. Rather than being a birth doula, it's very easy for me to be a death doula. I can sit with people when they're dying because it's all about them, not what I'm feeling. It's all about them and the transitional experience that they're going through. And I can tell you the 6 or 7 deaths that I've sat there with people when they went through it, I am in enhancing ways forever blessed because I was able to be in that room with that person when they were going to leave this earth. And there's no movie, there's no spending spree, there's no sexual experience, there's nothing that I've ever had that can equal the power of being able to be strong enough and be there with that person and witness those kind of things. So it's like, I'm very grateful that I have that kind of Scorpio able to handle death quality in my personality for this lifetime, because it's a rich medicine. It's not easy. No. It's not an easy experience to go through, but it's life-changing. Someone dying in front of you can be life-changing, and it will course correct your ass immediately. Like, you think you have, people forget it, but they're aging. They forget that they've got a certain amount of time on this planet, and death is the harshest teacher. It's like, now you see it, now you don't. And that's Scorpio. Now it's here, now it's not. So it helps us appreciate the real, genuine friend, the person that always shows up for us, the person that doesn't lie to us, the person that wants to be gracious to us, the person that's glad that you're in the room tonight, the person that appreciates, even if you're a skeptic. You can be a skeptic. I'm not going to judge you for that. I'll try to give you an answer, but don't ever think I've got all the answers, because I don't have that kind of ego. I'm willing to learn forever, here and wherever I go.
All right. So you ready to do
the quick thing on the houses?
Yeah. Let's go through the. I'll see if I can keep up with you with my little cartoon glyphs.
I keep feeling like we need to go into the cards and messages and oracles. I love it. Okay, here's Aries. So I'm going to just give you where the Scorpio archetype is happening. So whether it's this is what the house is that's happening in your chart. And for sake of simplicity, I know there's those of you out there that know your rising signs and all that, and most astrologers will tell you pay attention to your ascendant rising sign for your forecast more than your sun sign, but I'm just going to be hitting the sign so you can decide if you want to blend them or not. So if Aries is your main sign, then Scorpio is happening in the 8th house. Aries starts the zodiac and starts with number 1. Pisces completes it at number 12. So Scorpio is lighting up the 8th house. And so this is the afterlife. This is indeed, even though it's Samhain, Hallows, All Saints' Day, All Souls' Days tomorrow, this for Aries is a very impacting time of those that they have in their ancestral line, their indigenous, ethnic, cultural dynamic, their DNA, genetic pool kind of a thing. And it's also about off-planet, otherworldly type of influences, guardian angels, your particular archangel. For a lot of Aries, they may be shifting into, I've always thought about that archangel messenger, but now I'm really drawn to, I've always been into Raphael, but now I'm really into Metatron. So I would say to Aries that you might shift your studious side into what seems to be a soul inspiration for me right now. It's also a very sexy time for Aries. It's an earth cycle of sensuality and desire, and what is your current definition, what's on your list of what is a pleasurable pursuit for you. It might be a vacation more than another person's body. But Aries right now is thinking about what are some, I don't have any guilty, what are my non-guilty pleasures? You know, what about
Don't limit
me?
yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But, well, you know, because people do. That's why I'm saying, giving them different categories. So for Aries right now, be open to learning about the things that you keep most secret to yourself, because the 8th house is the house of secrets, not just taboos, but the taboo that I'm defining might be you're not ready to let other people that you know about your own desire secrets or sexual secrets, or that things might, remember, Scorpio is transformative. You might be going through a transformative time, and even though society might be saying, no, there might be a part of you that says, well, I'm kind of a little curious. I don't know how far I'll take it. But so the curiosity factor is very strong for Aries right now. If you're a Taurus, Scorpio is your opposite balance sign. Taurus are looking at kind of poking at the tiger in the cage a little bit. If you're in a committed relationship right now, because the 7th, Scorpio is hitting up the 7th house for you, Taurus, and that's about your significant other. But I'm going to take that further because it's Scorpio. So Taurus, every single priority relationship, so your son, your daughter, your neighbor that you like the best, the people you go to lunch with, whatever, your banker, wherever you choose to go, all those SOs, all those significant others are very much in the spotlight and main teacher communicators for you, Taurus, until we get to the 21st, 22nd of this month. So Taurus, in short, you're going to learn the most through other people that you're coming in contact with on a more private, personal level. So it's not just your bed partner or your marital partner or your roommate. It has to do with the people that you deem that get the closest into you in lots of ways in your life. Your banking, your finances, your doctor, where you go take yoga or whatever it is. So it's got to do with the regular people in your life that you're allowing to orbit around you on a consistent basis. So it's not, the spotlight's not on you, Taurus. It's on your interactions with another. If you're Gemini, it's hitting your 6th house. So are you flossing your teeth? Are you doing some coconut oil? Are you conditioning your hair? Are you being too hard on yourself? Scorpio's about resurrecting. Are you Geminis beginning to bitch about, I don't like the way I'm looking, I've got wrinkles, I'm aging? Are you beginning to condemn yourself and being a vampire to yourself and taking your own vital life force energies by criticizing yourself? Now, you might not let other people criticize you, but are you going too hard on yourself, Gemini? So it's a wonderful cycle for upping your game and being a best, better version of yourself by taking care of your earth temple. So everything that has to, your bones, your teeth, your gums, your skin, this is a great cycle for you to get a massage, for you to get acupuncture, for you to get some new holistic products onto your skin instead of just chemicals. So just kind of open up the possibilities, Gemini, of learning about wellness. If you're Cancer the Crab, this new moon is happening in your 5th house, so it could have to do with, depending on what age category you're in, it could be a whoopsie that your birth control didn't hold out too well. So I'm just going to tell you, you're very spicy and you're fertile with ideas. You're fertile, perhaps, in your physical body. It's nice when astrologers can warn us about those cycles, not to, take a chance with that kind of a thing, but it's got more to do with how you can be blessed regardless of your age, with the laughter of a child, the spontaneity and the courage of a teenager, and how people can get older in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and still have that great whimsical wonderment of life. So it has to do with the youthing energy, Cancer, instead of the heaviness of life. It's just like, throw off that fear coat and just say, you know what, today I'm going to have a really good laugh, and I'm just going to do something fun that my inner child likes to do. Even if it's the McDonald's playground or whatever, or roller coasters, just go do that in the next 2 weeks. If you're a Leo, it's a fourth house type of a thing, so it's family, it's tribe, it's domestic matters, it's home and hearth. It has to do with maybe you need to declutter or clean it, or maybe everything's so intense around you with some family member or relative or intensity of emotions there, Leo, that you just need to let the house get a little dusty. You don't have to vacuum it and you know, do your robo-mop all the time. Just sit down and take care of you. Home is where the heart is. Leo rules the heart. Mars is going into your sign on November 3rd. So things get intense for people that have Leo as a strong point in their chart, and it's about you loving yourself enough to make things okay just the way they are. It's about, there's going to be a lot of vitality that comes back to you, Leo, because since, you know, early September, you've had Mars moving around in your private sector, in your private house, dealing with illness, dealing with people with health challenges, and now the spotlight comes to you with Mars being happy in a fire sign. So as of November 3rd, Leo, it's the sun shines on you again. You're a Virgo. It's a third house thing, so here's a real quick message for you, Virgo. It's not what you say. It's how you say it. And how you communicate it and how you choose to. Sometimes Virgos know that they need to shut something down and they need to make a boundary, and they kind of draw it out. They kind of let the person have three strikes, or they kind of let the person, I've heard a lot of Virgos say, I just let them trap themselves. But right now it's about the power of words, when to use them. Keeping your cards close to your chest is a Scorpio thing anyway when you're in a card game. But for Virgo right now, it's really do deep listening. What's the intention? What's the agenda, both with what's coming out of your mouth and what people are trying to influence you with, or manipulate you with, or praise you with. So just start looking at the words that are coming at you and from you, Virgo. And it's a neighborhood kind of thing. You may find there's more interactions with your neighbors and the community that you're in, but it's an easier cycle that way. If you're Libra, Scorpio is the sign after yours, so it hits your second house. So Libras are determining what right now holds a value of their energy. What do I want to invest my energy and my time into, or in combination with, versus what's draining me? What am I pushing myself to do that I don't want to do right now? So Libra's the scales of balance. So Libra's saying, you know what, it's not just about me, but it's about the win. You know, what's a mutual reception? What's a mutual win around me? And that's what's going to help Libra with their values and their finances right now. They can be the diplomat, but they also have to be their own artist. You know, one of the archetypes of Libra is the creative artist. And there's a lot of creative artistry in people politics. And so Libra right now is saying, you know, I can't just look at the win-win for them being the primary, the dominant force. I need to also have a conversation with myself, and maybe the scales have been unbalanced because I've not been true enough to myself to say, you know what, I need to pause, or I need to go forward into this. So Libras right now are having a talk with themselves about themselves, and I see increase in finances for Libras. I see some things flowing in with them because they'll find the right team member, or they'll find the right artistic pursuit, that once their energy gets an effervescence to it, then Libra's like, yeah, this is good. They're kind of waiting for that. Yeah, baby, this is it. If you're a Scorpio, happy birthday. This is your ascension cycle. Scorpios, more than any other sign, knows that they're hanging on to something that's debilitating, and they do it anyway. And so to you Scorpios, I'm like, you know, shut up. Stop complaining, because you know you're the very one that's not doing the changes that need to happen. So if you're not willing to do the psychic surgery and the soul corrections, then go ahead and drag down some more people, or go ahead and watch people fall off the cliff that you infect with your energies, because you know that you've been told time and time again that's not the best operating system for you with yourself as well as others. And when you keep taking the easy way out, Scorpio, and avoiding what you've got to do, and therefore you're enabling other addictive or toxic behaviors around you, as well as, and I can talk about this because it's my sign, so shut up, Scorpio, because I know, and you're enabling toxic behaviors out of yourself and toxic behaviors out of other people, because in your mind, you don't have to face it if you just keep stalling and avoiding it. It's going to come back to bite you. And, oh, by the way, you Scorpios then become the vampires. Yeah, I said it because I know. So for Scorpio, this is your new birthday cycle. This is your new moon. So you finally can let go of the same crap that's been holding you back since 2014. 2014 was one of the times when Scorpios, in 2012 into 2014, when Saturn was in Scorpio, Saturn was trying to say to you, still stuck? Yeah, still going to do it the same way? Okay, stay stuck. So this is a grand rising, and this is an ability for you to turn around and say, how's that been working out for me? Me always doing it that kind of way to that kind of person and letting that kind of thing go on. So, there's going to be more of the same, Scorpio. Yeah, here's your forecast. More of the same old is going to keep happening until you allow yourself to fly above it. So be an eagle or be a phoenix. Otherwise, shut up and be a scorpion and sting yourself. So Sagittarius, it's a 12th house thing. So a lot of Sagittarians I've been working with, both with my friends and my clients, have had about a 2.5 to 3 year issue. Really been tugging at them secretly, personally, privately. And I see that the Sagittarians now with Jupiter in Gemini and Mercury and Venus being in Sagittarius, there's a cycle that's happened here. So for the last 24 months to 30 months, I feel like that there's a cycle of reckoning and that the old is dying right now. Sagittarians are in their embryonic phase. It's their labor before their birth as the sun comes into Sagittarius in the latter part of this month of November. But right now you've got Mercury zooming into there, and you've got Venus already in Sagittarius. And so the abundance part of our charts right now is where we've got Gemini and Sagittarius. So if you want to see where the perks are financially and personally and creatively, find the houses in your chart that are Sagittarius and Gemini. For Capricorn, it's 11th house. Eat, drink, and be merry. Go be with the people that stimulate you. Go be with the people that you can help business-wise and inspire them. I feel like that you Capricorns right now are meant to be professors and teachers and creative, instructors and help inspire other people. So Capricorns get real serious about their work. And so it's a good cycle for Capricorns to be training newcomers or employees or people that could come on board business-wise. Capricorns can have a lot of value in teaching what they did from ground zero all the way up to where they are now. So I see Capricorns kind of in a teacher-student dynamic, and it's a win-win both ways. And it could also have to do with you're spending some more times with aunts, uncles, and siblings. It could be some kind of dynamic that you're undoing as you come into the full moon of November 15th with sibling rivalry or competitiveness within the family. But business-wise and financially and being an inspirational teacher, I like that for you, Capricorn. If you're Aquarius, it's 10th house. Scorpio is the 10th house for you Aquarians, and that means it's time to bust a move in your career professional area. They either appreciate you and all that you've done and the way that you do it, or they're deliberately ignoring you to keep you operating out of a little bit of an insecurity of, am I there yet? Am I good enough yet? What's going on? So you already know, Aquarius, that you put both feet in when you decide to commit yourself to a study or to a job. And so the change that might be coming before January the 3rd of 2025 is how much time good old Aquarius is going to give where they're working at or who they're working with. It may be the Aquarius that says, you know what, mahalo, I'm out by the time we get to the first week of January, because Aquarians right now are looking at, am I appreciated or not? Are my efforts, are my hard work, is my team playing working or not? And if you're Pisces, I like the rise that I'm seeing for Pisces. Saturn will go into Aries next year. Neptune will pop into Aries next year. And so what you've got, Pisces, is this is the healing. This is where the ocean is settled down, and now it's that great low tide and you're sitting in the balmy wind and the sun, and it's warm, it's not too hot, and it's not too windy, and you're able to sit there by the great wisdom of the seashore and say to yourself, with Mars finally leaving Cancer and going into Leo, it's a ninth house thing. So Pisces has been looking for what would be an enthusiastic inspiration rather than the drink that they take to forget or the pill that they take so they don't have to think about the pain that they've been packed in that luggage for a long time. So I see Pisces emerging as they come into this November into January cycle of 2025, and I feel like that the main love that Pisces is going to be able to recognize is finally when they stopped appreciating and loving themselves. And so now what's going to happen with Mars spending a longer time in Leo is that Pisces will begin to appreciate the fact that they took the hit health-wise, or they continue to allow themselves to be drained or to get sick and tired of being tired, thus sick. So I see Pisces people really being, out of all 12 signs, really being able to break those kind of sinister patterns. But it's been a long time coming. You know, it's been a long time coming for Pisces, and I see them being able to not keep it internal and cause themselves dismay or sickness anymore, and be able to say, wow, that was a rough ride, but, you know, I graduated and I got myself out of it. Because for Pisces, they've had to get themselves out of it for the last 7 years. So I feel like it's really, it's like they're going to be married to their spirit, to their higher self. Whether they're married on the earth plane or not, their first marriage is going to be their spirituality. And an example of that is like Justin Bieber. You know, all the stuff that's been going on in the media with him. And he's a Pisces, and now he's having a comeback out of a lot of those toxic secrets and those woundedness that happened to him in secret in his younger years, you know, with a lot of the stuff that went on in Hollywood and all the stuff that's cycling. First it was Epstein, and now it's, you know, P. Diddy, and he's a Scorpio. So when I tell you that Scorpios can be very strong villains and vampires, they really can, and they can be sexual vampires. So it's up to us to not keep secrets. The bad side of Scorpio is keeping a secret that you know shouldn't have been kept secret, that it should have let the light come in and expose the darkness so other innocent victims didn't fall into the poison. Because, you know, poison is poison, and that's the dark side of Scorpio is the poisonous venom of the snake or the vampire. And we're even does the Bible say the life is in the blood? The life is in the blood. So it's important for us to, every once in a while, give some nice affirmations to ourselves and our living blood waters, the waters of our body, the waters, the blood, our saliva, our ability to have the right kind of fluidic flow in the earth temple. So invite in the supernatural baptismal and resurrection waters literally into your blood, and let the life come back up in your blood, and thank your body. You know, thank your body and the intelligence of your cells, because that is Scorpio resurrection too, and communion.
There it is. That's all the signs, right? We went through all of them, just making sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, from Aries to Pisces, we sure did.
Scorpio's always Scorpio gets kind of a bad rap sometimes too, you know, like sometimes.
Oh, I love Scorpio. No, I love them. But Scorpios have to make sure. The lesson Scorpio can take from Libra is that Scorpio needs to not always have to go to the extreme of left or right or black or white. It's okay. See, where Libra sees the gray and Libra sees the benefits of both black and white, Scorpio's like, no, it's just, you know, Scorpio, it's a fixed sign. So Scorpio has to, they tend to pull back. They tend to, you know, and in nature, and I've said it before, the actual creature of a scorpion, if you've ever watched it, if it gets in a fight with a bug or another scorpion, it'll sting itself. You can look it up on Nature. You can watch it on these National Geographic shows. If it feels like it's fight or flight and it's going to lose, it stings its own self. It takes its own self out.
Well, the phone lines are open if you want to call Mary. It's 501-777-5631. What do you think about all that, Gigi? Is this your first experience? This is your first, like, is Gigi, you still with us, man? Hopefully he's still there.
Yeah, no, I've caught many.
You got Scorpio friends?
Listened. Yeah, no, it's funny you bring that up because, that relation you were just talking about between Libras and Scorpios, I directly I can think of 3 girls where that exact dynamic that you were describing.
I had a very traumatic experience with Scorpio. So yeah, it's traumatic.
Yeah. And my sister's also a Libra. She's like, how dare I? I don't know, October. I forget her birthday, which is terrible of me to say. But I think it's like, 16th. Anyway, but she told me very early on, because she would be great to have on here sometime, actually, on one of these. She could keep up with all this right with you guys. But she's always told me,
good for her.
Like you being a Libra, and especially the type of Libra I am, and she knows, the moon is in this house and all that kind of stuff too. She was like, yeah, you just no Scorpios for you as far as romantic stuff goes, and she told me that a long time ago.
Well, Libra's romantic too, man. It's just different, It's Scorpio's deep is deep, deep, intense.
Yeah.
Well, if we took it from a surface, Joe, with what Gigi's saying, though, let's say he's just operating from the Libra thing, and his sister was saying, "Oh, I kind of take a pause if it comes to a Scorpio." But if he's Libra, let's just say that's all we know. He's Libra, and he gets involved with a Scorpio. Scorpio is the sign after Libra, so that makes Scorpio the second house for Libra, which means values and what he will see that has worth, or what he will see will drain him. And I'm not just talking finances. It would be like, how much of my Libra self am I going to have to compromise, invest in, or change? And am I going to end up feeling like it's a win-win, that I add value to the Scorpio, and the Scorpio gets me and understands what's a priority investment of time and energy for me, or is the Scorpio going to be so demanding on my time, or sometimes they say people can be high maintenance, I guess. So some signs are high maintenance for other signs. So the Libra would be, wow, I love the teamwork, and I love that we can do things together, and I do care about your dreams. But if the Scorpio gets in one of those little surly moods that they get into, or they're fighting off darkness or depression, that becomes like Libra's like, oh no, I don't want the person that I care about, be it, my sister, my lover, or whatever, my child. And what can I do to fix that? Well, the one that has to fix it is the Scorpio, or they'll bring everybody down around them.
Sting you. But you can use that Libra connectedness to dance that romance, brother. Keep that balance going,
you
until too much is too much, and then the Libra's like, you know what? It's not working. It's not working. And I love you, but it's not working, and I gotta go.
216 area code. You're on the air. Who are we speaking with?
Hi, Joe and Mary. Wow, it seems like a whole month since I talked to you guys last.
Okay, who are we speaking with?
How are you? It's Monica.
Hey, Monica.
It's Monica.
How are you?
Mary, happy birthday yesterday. How are you guys?
Good. I think.
Hear the caller.
Yes, you can hear her now. So, I think has it been 5 months since you called in? Really, that long?
Yeah, it's been a month. A whole dang month. How about that?
Well.
Happy birthday, Mary, yesterday, and happy day, Joe. Every day's a happy day. Every meal's a banquet. How you guys doing? Great?
Good.
Love hearing from you guys all the time. I'm really shocked I got in this early, but Mary, I would love for you to pull a card. Scorpio thing scares the crap out of me. I gotta say, my best friend is a Scorpio, and she keeps me on my toes, and it's a challenge.
Yeah,
I love her to death.
Truly. Well, the one card that came out of my one of my favorite animal teachers, Ted Andrews, a Libra that shifted into spirit in 2009, did a great deck of animal medicine cards, and what I got is the Knight. Knights are messengers like angels. The Knight of Shapeshifters. It's a water element. It's the cups in the tarot, and the creature on it is a praying mantis. And the messages about the praying mantis, of course, is how they can look like they're a ninja, the way they have the stillness. They're very protective. They have sharp vision, like they're caught up in like that animated, suspended animation, so they can really take in what's going on. And most people don't know, in animal medicine, there's the predator and then there's the prey. And the praying mantis, most people don't know this. More people are learning it, thank God, that in hummingbird season, if you live in an area that has hummingbirds, don't ever hang your hummingbird feeders to where a praying mantis can walk up there because they can kill hummingbirds. And I didn't know that until I moved back to the mountains. I'm like, I didn't know that.
You're right. Yes, I did hear that. That's a scary thing. But, yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So, and the other card that I got is the torch out of the Oracle deck, and it's spiritual development, enlightenment, a deeper awareness, and some new understandings. And I feel like with you that a very specific old story, both that you tell yourself and you find yourself immersed in the same kind of chapters, even if you change the people in the life theater. Is it an old story or an old script, I'll say, the same kind of script? Like in movies, there's either an adventure or a horror movie or a comedy or a romantic, that kind of thing, or based on a true story. I feel like that the theme in your life script is changing. And the torch, just like the Olympic torch, it starts the game. It opens the book. It's that a whole new adventure is beginning because we're now carrying the torch and passing it to the next person. So there's some kind of an epic beginning that's coming up for you over the next 3 months. I feel like that the ending, like your world is going to completely be different than it ever was before. There's something is definitely not going to be the same, as in it's like turn the page kind of a thing. Turn the page. I think Bob Seger did a song like that. Turn the page on the road.
It has been like kind of slow. It's been kind of slow, you know, like in the movies. You know, it has been kind of slow for me, and I was like kind of needing to hear that.
Well, the pregnant pause that we get in life is often when we're going through a metamorphic development, and that we're in the cocoon stage, or we're inside the egg and we're getting ready to emerge from the eggshell, and that's a process because Scorpio is you go from Libra to Scorpio. You go into that late September, October, then the end of October we come into Scorpio, and Scorpio is the middle sign. Libra starts in the northern hemisphere, the harvest signs. There are 3 signs to every season, and so when we get to Libra, it's the start of autumn. It's the first atomic sign of the northern hemisphere. Then Scorpio is the middle sign. Sagittarius is the final sign of fall, autumn, and then we go to Capricorn, which starts the 3 signs of winter. It's solstice in the northern hemisphere. So the Scorpio right now is the time for us. We've got Libra in the tank. We've got Sagittarius coming up. There's already planets popping in Sagittarius. So what it's saying to you is, and what's a workable philosophy for you now? What can you move out of stagnation, even if that stagnation is comfortable and easy, because you always eat the same things at the same place, kind of always act the same way in a new romance, kind of always act the same way when you're meeting new people. You always wear the same kind of colors, same style of clothes, same style of hair. So Scorpio is saying, what might you do that could be transformative, that you actually can look in the mirror and go, you know what, I don't wear coral enough. I don't wear much yellow. I could go get my hair cut. I could wear a different kind of color of lipstick. I could do some different things that aren't costly, but that I would actually visually see the difference in me. So you're kind of like in an experimental.
Yeah. I have a special request, Mary? Can you tell my best friend Scorpio to stop kicking her best friend Pisces' ass 24/7? Did I say that out loud?
So have you told your Scorpio friend that they're too hard on their Pisces friend?
Yeah, all the time. But it's
okay. So maybe that's an old story now. No, stop.
Right,
maybe you brought that up after I said that. Maybe you've been lingering on to that old story too long, and it's not your place anymore, that you've been the mediator, but maybe the Pisces and the Scorpio need to work it out, and you step out of it.
We're good. I appreciate
That's alchemy.
You so much, Mary. I know you love. I love you. I love Joe. You guys rock.
Thank you.
And I'm glad to talk. And I can't wait to talk to you next month.
All right. Thanks, honey.
Thanks for calling.
Happy Halloween. Happy All Saints Day. All Souls Day. Yep. And Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. That's why I was late tonight.
All right. Have a good night. Thanks for calling.
It's all right.
Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Monica.
Bye-bye.
Man, there's no way I would step into a Scorpio and Pisces battle. Just be like,
Between them.
Y'all figure it out.
Yep, it's between them. Y'all work it out.
If Scorpio's taught me anything,
Step out of it.
It's watch for the drains. You know what I mean? That would be a massive drain to get involved with that. You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will say a lot of Scorpios get caught up in very draining situations for many years. You know, that it's like the scab keeps getting picked kind of a thing, because they want to change it. They actually get in there and try to be the alchemist or the nurse or the doctor or the psychologist to try to get the person. They invest so much in a person's wellness that they often know that they're going to get drugged down with that addiction, or they have to almost enter that person's world for a while to realize, oh, wow, that's what they go through. That's how they're hooked. And then they come back with, what the hell did I think I could change that? I mean, now I got to fix my own damn self because I went down the hole with them, you know, kind of a thing. So Scorpios, I remember one of the first statements I ever saw about Scorpio is that Scorpio will often fall down so low that it looks like up to them. Like they kind of go to the depths of despair, or they can dance with the darkness long enough that they actually enter the world of the darkness of the abyss or the abuse. And then almost like pattern after that abuse, Joe, like they get into being the abuser and abused, and they end up abusing other people because the abuse happened to them. And until they wake up to the fact that they can love themselves enough not to let the haunt of who was abusive to them psychologically, verbally, in their early childhood theater, that they can break that pattern and not continue to be abused vis-a-vis different partners or different friends. And it's like it's the yin yang. They'll get abused and then they'll abuse a partner. Then the parent will abuse them again, and they'll go abuse a partner, a sexual partner, even though the parent is the one that keeps manipulating them. It's like they just have a hard time facing the fact that that child or that parent would willingly manipulate and abuse them in order just to keep the attention on them. So it's a big one. It's a big one for Scorpios.
Oof. Yeah, it sounds tough just hearing it, honestly.
It is. Oh, it is. I've dealt with a lot of Scorpios because most psychologists and astrologers will grow weary of them and fire them, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, let's go. You want to go? Let's go. We'll start with the hard stuff in the very beginning. Let's see if you survive. Because I'm not here to play with you. I'm here to help you.
Well, you know what we could do now that Gigi's on here? You could pull a card for Gigi. Right?
Oh, I'd love to.
What do you think, Gigi? I mean, I don't want to.
Hey, you don't want to push it, yeah.
Push it, but are you? I mean,
yeah, I'm down.
You down for that? Cool. Like to hear that.
Okay, the animal medicine card that I got is the crow. Oh, I love crows. And it's the page of the air element. Of course, it's a bird. It's the sky world. The page of the winged ones, and it's the sword. It's the Ace of Swords, and it says unexpected magic and energy. And the other thing I got for you was Sunrise out of the Oracle deck, and it's new, innovative, creativity, ideas. I keep getting artistry with you. Like there's something that you do that's got a magnanimous artistry to it. So it wouldn't matter if it was drawing or painting or stonework or technical pot. There's something around you that feels like that it's just like when you're at the right time in the right place, it's just like, boom, there's a whole new vortex that opens up for you. And I see there's a fresh start. And I see there's like spokes of a wheel, you know, like you're going off into some new directions. You're going to keep the best interest of what you've always found fascinating, beguiling, and bewitching to you in a good way. But it feels like that your own, that you've been wanting stimulation, that you've been wanting creative stimulation, not because you have a lack of creativity in your storage tanks, but that it's not been triggered in a while. So you're looking for, I feel like, inspirational triggers. Like it might be a person, it might be that you actually just take a hike somewhere and go, wow. It's just like I was talking to Joe about, I had to go to the water. I had to go to the water for this birthday cycle, and just eating on that dock in that restaurant on the water was the medicine that I needed. And I didn't know that. I didn't plan that. It just happened on Halloween Day. I did not set it. I'm going to go to the water. None of that stuff. It wasn't analytical. It wasn't pre-planned. It was in a car, and it's just like, I got to go to water, and I got to see the sunset. I got to have the sunset. I got to be viable under that sunset, but I got to go to water first. So I chose what elements were talking to me, and you've got the air. You've got the bird kingdom. You've got the clouds, the rainbows, the stars. You've got the wind, rainbows and whirlwinds. And so there's something to do with, the wind stirs things up, and the crow and raven are like magical shapeshifters. They really are. I remember buying a book on crows when I was out in Santa Fe because I was fascinated. Crows always followed me. And the crow has at least 26. I think it's exactly the same as our alphabet. They have 26 different calls and noises that they make, and they've proved that they memorize faces. They know how to do energy. A lot of cultures speak about the crow in magical ways. So I feel like that might be, you just recently had your birthday if you're a Libra, that might be one of your medicine totems that's giving you a high five of like, hi, it's your totem, it's a crow, and I'm flying over. I'm getting your attention. But it has to do with the unexpected exuberance and the unexpected illumination and stimulation of high magic. So it has a lot to do with you trusting you and the ancient person that you are, the ancientness of your soul, the multidimensionality of your soul, and that you're not just a male and you're not just who you are of this lifetime. There's a whole bunch of, I see like orbiting puzzle pieces coming together.
Dang.
Yeah, and just like the other couple times where you've done a reading for me on here, it's been a few years since the last one, but unbelievable how just right on the money that is. Like if you would have said that like, a month ago or 2 months ago or anywhere before like a few weeks from now, that wouldn't have lined up. But literally like just these last few weeks, listen, I'm blown away. Yeah, every single time. You're
Thank you, Gigi.
That really is. And like I was saying before, there's all, I'm typically I have a healthy skepticism with readings like this and stuff. And there's only been three. I've tried so many, but there's only been 3 that have ever been spot on. 3 different people. And you're one of them. And with you, this was the 3rd time in a row, 3 for 3. So,
3.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening now, Mary's the real deal here. Seriously.
3 for 3. Yeah.
Thank you, Gigi. Thank you for validating how spirit can flow through all of us and communicate the high medicine that is so innovative and appropriate for the person that will openly receive the message. No expectations like, okay, let's see how this goes. I have always called myself an open-minded skeptic, and I started doing in-studio television and radio in the early 80s. And so believe me, when you got into the radio station and the television station, the massive circus of egos that you go into that, and then it wasn't really exploded yet with astrologers and psychics like it is now, but it got there fast in Florida, real fast, because bigger cities accepted it. But it was amazing to me, like I guess the football team, the competition, who wants to be the main one and all that, and how people would just cheat and like make up things and laugh and think that the forecast for one Scorpio would be the same for all the Scorpios, and I'm just like, I'm not even going to focus on that shit. I'm just going. When I hear what I did was I'm sitting at my own table and I still close my eyes when I'm reading for clients, doing my phone readings. I close my eyes, I push my ego out of the way, and I'm like, and Joe knows this. Thank you, Great Spirit. Thank you, Almighty I Am. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Please use me as your antenna and your instrument to give this person at this very rich moment in time exactly what will be good for their soul, inspire them, not in any BS kind of manner, but just speak to their heart and their soul, and talk about 3, let their mind and their soul and their heart be aligned. Let that trinity happen so then they receive it and they go off inspired and empowered by their own connection to the divine, and what they take out of any reading from me is that, wow, Spirit really did speak to me. It wasn't her, the person. The gift that I have that I'll claim is that I'm able to get me out of the way and just really be there as that satellite dish wanting to bring forth what's best for that person. I don't try to tell them what they want to hear to get extra money and more readings. I don't try to judge them or bring in the fear porn that people bring in to try to get them to get other readings. It's like I look at every encounter as this could be that moment in time. This could be the one time that I give a message to this person and how it could affect them in a really positive medicinal way or not. That responsibility lies on me. So I won't tell them what they want to hear. I won't fluff it up and clean it up and like, oh my God, I got such a good reading. Because I had the psychics along the way from my teens forward. There was a trend with the gypsy type of psychics that would want to tell you, got to go burn candles and you got to go to the graveyard and you got to do this and there's a curse on you. And I'm like, what? You know, so I ran into a lot of those ones that were wanting to manipulate people out of fear and play on their vulnerability. And man, I busted them on my radio show. I would call it out and I'd bust them. Oh, me too. Oh, but I took a risk. I took a risk and I'd bust them. And I'm like, yeah, no ethical reader of any kind, astrologer, doctor, nurse, herbalist, healer, whatever it is, yoga teacher, they're not going to try to get you by hooking you with fear. If there's something, I always say to Spirit, if there's something I'm supposed to tell somebody, be a little cautious of this. You know, have you been thinking about this? Have you had a little bit of a hesitation on this? Let them validate. Yeah. You know, like when I would be on radio and I'd say, you need to check the air in your tires or something. I don't see anything bad happening. Just go check it for you. You know, not to have to call and tell me, but when I see things like that, because in my life, there's been plenty of lessons that I had to go through that Spirit didn't let me see at first, because why? Sometimes we got to go through it in order to grow from it. And I will say there's been times in my life that I paid a very big price when my guides were going, no, 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 no. And I said, well, maybe this will be okay. Yeah, so I don't do that anymore because I did learn the hard way. It's like, what if that's just my mind, or what would be wrong with that? No, I was the skeptic that challenged it every time at a certain point in my life. And now I could be in a grocery store. I can be out to lunch with somebody. If my guides say to me, get up and leave, I'll say to them, y'all can stay and have lunch if you want to. My guides have just, I don't sugarcoat. I'm out. I just got told to go. So there's something else I don't know yet that's going to happen. I'm going to go. I don't do it for drama. Doesn't happen that much. But when I'm done, I'm done. I'm like, I'm done. That's it. I'm out. Got to go. And when I've gone against that has been when there has been personal price that I've had to pay with myself. So yeah, I learned it the hard way. So I don't do it. So I'm honored when people call back on the show where people say I'm a skeptic. I'm like, good, because when you're a skeptic, nobody's going to be able to use religion or tarot or astrology or psychology to manipulate you. They're not going to be able to manipulate you. You're open, you're going to listen, and it either enhances you and helps you and fits, or it's trying to put a round peg in a square hole. And I tell people, especially in anything to do with mysticism or psychology or x-rays or whatever, question it. You need to question it. We've got to be our own doctors. We've got to take responsibility for how it feels to us, because that's ultimately how we develop our God-gifted intuition. We all have it. It's a tool, and we need to not let society drive us or our zodiac sign drive us or the church only drive us. We need to look at the energy frequencies. And yes, this is working in my life. This is good medicine. It's working for me in my life. Not so-and-so told me, so I better do it only. We need to, it's okay to test the waters and see if it's something that's working for us. And when it starts working for us, you're also going to have the anti-light or the dark forces try to tempt you away from it too. Very often, right before you come into a beautiful thing that happens in your life, there'll be a shadow period, or there'll be something really rough that we go through to almost make us say, I don't give a damn anymore. It's not going to happen. It always happens for other people instead of me. And if you just persevere, all of a sudden it's just like, wow, wow, I almost didn't believe. I almost didn't go for it. Yep, and that's the thing about, in Frankenstein again, I'm fearless. I'm fearless. I'll handle it, whatever comes toward me, because I'm going to give the ultimate director of my life to be the light, to be the almighty I am, however you have to define it, but I'm going to let the light of love be in charge. And if it tells me, nope, that's a no for you, I'm going to listen to it. That's my spiritual parent, and I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Well,
Do you want a card, Joe?
I mean, you can if you want. Like, I haven't had a card from you in a long. It's your birthday though. Why are you pulling cards for me? We should be pulling cards for you.
There's an old Japanese. Oh, I take care of me. There's an old Japanese custom that believes that when it's your birthday, if you gift someone else something on your birthday, this is the Japanese belief. It blesses you for the entire year because all the attention could have been on you. So what I get for you, Joe, is cool. I get out of a different deck that I'm in. Yeah, the Healing Temple. And there's, I'll send you the picture in Messenger, but there is, the words on it are restoration, cure, safety. And so what it is there's like, it looks like lightning bolts in a mountain, but it's actually little cracks of illuminated water, the white light of the water, and it's coming down into the pond. There's a wizard kind of guy, there's kind of like a Dumbledore kind of wizard guy, and he's holding up, here we go, the illuminated magic wand, and there's a temple, a secret temple in the secret garden in the valley of the mountains, and this illuminated temple, which is called on this card, and its number is 1. It's November 1st, 111. So the temple is saying that, and it's very glassy water, very clear, calm, glassy water, like when you see in dreams or in oracle cards that the water is very calm and you can actually see into it. It's pure and it's clean. I can see the temple's reflection and the cascading water that's illuminated. The Healing Temple is what's lighting up, putting little portals of light and the mountains that are rising around it. And then there's a regular waterfall on the right of the card. So the left of the card, and the magician has the wand pointed to the left rise of the mountains. And one of the mountains also looks like a bear. It looks like a bear. And bear medicine is the totem for autumn. When we get to Libra and the west, the direction of the west is the bear totem, and it has to do with a restorative energy in relating, because Libra starts autumn. So it has to do with, by the time you get to the end of Sagittarius of 2024, whatever cracks in the mountain, whatever needed to be baptized or released or cleansed, anything to do with partnership or relationship situations is going to be now replaced with the illumination of light. The Healing Temple is about you allowing a very dynamic, progressive, significant other type of situation. It could be business. It could be something totally restored in a family lineage dynamic. But for me, psychically, it feels like it has to do with a lot of light in a very, very strong, growing, personal, intimate, dynamic relationship. I like this a lot.
That sounds good to me.
I like it a lot. Restoration. Yeah, restoration, cure, safety, the Healing Temple. So as of this new moon, the collective message, since you're the host of this, is that we can all enter into a healing temple and allow, when we think about death, it's either, ashes that we scatter or it's dirt that goes over the casket or the ground. So what I do on Halloween, which I'll share with you, is this weekend, I write down the things that I want to release, the things that have been challenges for me. And there might just be 5, I might pop, the ones that pop in my head. And I actually go outside and bury it on a piece of paper that's biodegradable, write it in pencil, and I bury it. You can rip it up, and you can bury it in the earth, and then I put some new dirt on top of that, and then I water it, and I just let it break down.
That's
But I've
beautiful.
literally given it back to Mother Earth, and I've buried it. So I was with the water, I did the air, and now I'm going to take what I want to release from 2023 back. What I want to, I'm allowing it to die. I'm allowing it to go into the ground and take new life. And then come spring of next year, in that April Taurus cycle, I plant a little herb or I plant a little productive, usually an herb, on top of it, and that's going to be my oregano or my rosemary and my lavender that I actually cook with and have communion with come April, May. So it's a ritual I do that's not any one particular belief. I have taken the time and used my conscious and my subconscious and written down some things that I'm allowing to leave my life, usually character traits within me that maybe didn't serve me so well, or something that comes up that was a hurt once in your life or whatever, and I just release it, and I write it all down and say, I forgive myself, I forgive the person, I release any need for this lesson to reoccur, and I allow my prosperity, and then sometimes I'll burn it in a burning bowl, and then I'll take the ashes out and mix it with the dirt and then put the water on top of that so you can incorporate all 4 elements. But it's a wonderful little, it's Scorpio. What do you want to bury? What do you want to finally put to rest? Because how do they describe people? In the southern newspapers, they'll say they're asleep in Jesus, or they'll say rest in peace, or they'll say here lies, so, and they'll put their birth date up and the date that they left the planet. So when you bury something in the earth, a concern, a worry, you've tried this or that, and it just seems to still be haunting you or pestering you, you give it to Mother Earth. You give it back to her with your earth body fingers, and you write it down with your earth body fingers, and it came from your mind, and then you put it back into Mother Earth and say, I give you back. You take on new life because I'm done with you. I bless you and I let you go. It's amazing. It's amazing. If you remember to do it like at Halloween. Yeah, absolutely. And then come spring, come Aries Taurus of 2025, then I'll go into my little big box store, that has plants and stuff like, ooh, I'm going to put oregano there. I'm going to plant some garlic there. And it's amazing how if I plant it somewhere else, it grows the best. Where I've tested that, of course, being a skeptic. I planted the same thing across from each other, and where I had buried something before and released it, it grows the best. It's amazing.
I didn't do the seed thing, but I did it last week. There's a pond that I told you I was been working on these side jobs and stuff, right? So I've been doing a lot of walking, which it's been a, God, man, it feels so good to just walk. Seriously.
It does.
And,
it does.
I stopped on that pond. It's kind of synchronistic you say that, and I'll just keep to myself what I buried, but buried something there, already.
Mm-hmm.
So already, I'm all up in that. You know what I mean?
So the healing temple is your pond right now. Walking medicine in the pond. Yeah. So the pond is still waters, and your healing temple, most of the time ponds are still. And
it
your
ain't
healing
the ocean,
temple
but it's a body of
very,
water, baby. And it's close,
Yeah, and this is Scorpio. Yeah, and this is Scorpio season. So I'll send you the picture of it in Messenger. And I know we're running out of time. Gigi, thank you for sharing your time and your energies, and allowing the cosmic conditions to come in and be a part of your time frame on Friday nights. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Gigi. Man, that was cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. No worries.
And blessings to your sister, too. Tell her happy Libra birthday, and tell her, as a person with 5 Scorpio planets, I understand why she told you that.
Yeah.
I definitely
no offense taken.
You got I
totally get it.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, I appreciate both of you, and thank you for the men that you are, and the kindness that you're developing, and spiritually how you are determined to be men that will allow their feelings and their emotions to run the ship of the choices that they make. I see that emerging as a pattern with the metaphysics and the spirituality of men across the planet, and its time has come. The time has come to celebrate the rising of the sacred masculinity, and I, for one, honor that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's great, good thing, good energy. And I guess I got a weird feeling before we leave here that there's one. Can you just reiterate, maybe just in a short sentence or two, what the deepest message of this energy and this new moon cycle is as we leave tonight, Mary?
Let it go. Let it go. Let the magic happen. It's okay to release it. It's okay to let yourself be lifted away from the strife or the concern, and just rest with peace. Rest in peace. Rest with peace. and allow yourself to be in charge of burying and just releasing anything that has ever caused your energy to come down. It's time to rise. Be the phoenix. Be the crystal at the end of the wand. Let it go. Emerge. Arise.
There it is, y'all. Do it. Don't just hear it. Do it. Do it. Feel it. Let it go. And
thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Mary. MaryDucina.com. 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 I can feel some of y'all's nervousness about getting a reading because you know it's going to change your life. Step into it. Get a reading. All right? And then let us know.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Gigi. Blessings, blessings, blessings to you all. I love you all, whether you agree with me or not. It doesn't matter because I'm just sending you love and light, and that's the way it goes.
Night, sweet dreams.
Thank you. Blessings. Talk to you soon. Next new moon. Bye-bye for now.